This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Roll. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news: residents of the Pinders Point, Lewis Yard, and surrounding areas at the Bishop Michael Eldon Center meeting at the Church of the Good Shepherd Friday evening to discuss the Environmental Health Risk Assessment Report prepared by the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization. Ricardo Lightborn was there and reports on the findings.
The meeting with the residents of Pinders Point and the surrounding areas was called to discuss the Environmental Health Risk Assessment, the report prepared by the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization. The Minister for Grand Bahama, Dr. Michael Darville, pointed out that the government commissioned the study because of the importance of the health and well-being of the people that reside in the affected area. Dr. Marcelo Kroc represented PAHO and defended the report at the meeting, which to some residents was not acceptable.
I would have not expected difference from a community that they perceived that had been exposed to environmental risks for such a long time, and they have lived in the area for such a long time. As I was mentioning to the community before, however, even if at the personal level I can have empathy for them, and I do, and I understand where they're coming from the technical point of view and from the data that was collected at the time that the data was collected, there's no evidence that we can say that during that period of time for what the data was collected that there were a health impact based on the environmental data.
Dr. Michael Darville said the Institute of Risk Assessment Science of the Netherlands evaluated the empirical environmental health data, but more work has to be done.
As a physician who practices in this area, the environment and safety is very important to the government. You know, industry is very important to the growth and development of Grand Bahama, but it's important that safety is paramount, and we definitely don't want to put any of our citizens in any risk factors that we can avoid, and so it's important for us now to get the facts through the proper empirical data, and so we can make the recommendations to the industrial sector, our regulators who are the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and the government on the way forward to ensure that the residents in this community is safe and remain safe.
The residents were extremely disappointed with the results of the report, especially since the area has been subject to industrial pollution, chemical emissions, and oil spills for over some 30 years. Ricardo Lightborn, ZNS Network News.
Well, the Pinders Point and Lewis Yard Committee called for that meeting to discuss the report submitted by the Pan American and World Health Organizations. President Bertram Pinder said it's not sitting well with the residents.
We all are very disappointed because, you know, it seems that while the report and the evidence may show one thing, the residents are still suffering. Nothing seemed to have changed over the past 30 years. We are still having the odor emissions. The residents are still suffering from the bad odors, the sore throat, the respiratory ailments.
Environmental activists have called for the relocation of the residents from the area for the past 30 years.
We are still fighting the same losing battle, it seems. But there still seems to be some hope that over the next 3 to 4 months that the next survey that they'll do hopefully will conclude. I mean, we all know that you can almost touch the tank, so I don't know why they feel there still seems to be a need to have another survey for proximity and safety. But you know, we've waited this long, we can continue to wait a few more months and allow the government to see what they come up with next.
In other news, President of the Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce, Kevin Seymour, says he believes government does not appear to have put a firm grasp on containing its spending, which is one of the reasons credit ratings agency Moody's recently put the country's Baa2 rating on review for a possible downgrade. He says it has tremendous implications in terms of closing the deficit, the country's debt level, and the debt to GDP ratio.
Whether or not a downgrade is going to happen, I believe, is going to very much depend upon the government being able to clearly demonstrate to the ratings agencies what investments are on tap for the country.
The Chamber President says the Bahamas has done itself a disservice because it is too New Providence-centric and is not focused on promoting investment activities that are taking place nationwide outside of Bahamas. Seymour says government must do a better job of highlighting those investments and their potential impact on the economy.
The things going on in Bimini, that's very much a success story. In Exuma, in Abaco, and certainly here in Grand Bahama, we're starting to see some green shoots of investment activity, most notably what is happening at Pharmachem.
Well, today marks the official start of the 2016 crawfish season. Hundreds of fishermen will take to the high seas to begin harvesting the elusive crawfish. The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries website reminds fishermen that the harvesting of egg-bearing female crawfish is prohibited. Fishermen are also reminded that traps should be wooden traps not more than 3 feet in length, 2 feet in width, and 2 feet in height, but no less than 1 inch apart. And the Grand Bahama community mourning the loss of a community builder this past weekend. Among them, the nation's leader, who attended to show his support to the Minister of Tourism and share how this woman has in some way touched the lives of some of the country's most influential leaders. Scores of residents on Grand Bahama and throughout the Bahamas lined up to say a final farewell to Mary Wilsham, a disciplinarian, a matriarch, and one who believed in the youth of this nation. Among them, her goddaughter, Kay Forbes Smith, who was moved to tears as she read condolences from former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Hubert Ingraham.
By all accounts, she was an excellent role model, dedicating her greatest efforts to the development of her 8 children, especially following the passing of your father, Jackson. I know that she was immensely proud of your achievement and of your contribution to our national life, which will give you satisfaction now. I regret that a prior engagement prevents me from attending her funeral service today. Dolores joins me in extending heartfelt condolences to you and your siblings.
The nation's leader was also in attendance to show his support to the bereaved family. He added that Wilsham was indeed a strong pillar in the community who touched every prime minister in this country.
This Bahamian woman contributed to the platform upon which I stand. And what you have heard today from me and from the letter Kay Smith read from the Right Honorable Hubert Ingraham is living testimony that this woman, this Bahamian woman, contributed to the well-being of all of the prime ministers of an independent Bahamas.
Wilsham's son, the Minister of Tourism and MP for West Grand Bahama and Bimini, Obi Wilsham, also reflecting on the life of his mother. He says she taught her children the importance of remaining humble and shared her passion for the youth of this nation.
Her involvement in the Progressive Liberal Party had more to do with carrying on a movement that was started in the 50s. She wanted to see things happen and to see a country better. And she wanted to, as my father always said, look out for the children.
In delivering the sermon, Reverend Marie Roach Hepburn spoke to how Wilsham loved her family and instilled in them the power of prayer.
She told her children, when they were going through difficult times and the road has not been easy for them, not to worry about it, but she said to pray.
Mary Wilsham passed away on July 20th at the age of 79.